Inside the glowing medical tower, first healer Tom studied a new discovery. The crystals around him shimmered softly, reflecting the twin suns that hung high above their peaceful world. For generations, the Bright Ones had lived in harmony, healers, scientists, and teachers to the galaxy. Violence was something they only read about in the history archives. Tom's translucent hands moved calmly across the glowing screen, examining the structure of a new healing enzyme. His people had nearly perfected the art of curing disease. In their eyes, war and suffering were old mistakes left behind by less civilized races. Then the piece shattered. The tower lights turned red. The soft hum of the machines was drowned out by the harsh scream of alarms. Tom looked up, startled. "What is it?" The door slid open and Ree, his assistant, rushed inside. The young Bright One's body shimmered unevenly, a sign of fear. "First healer," he cried. "Ships, many ships. They are not answering our calls." Tom rose from his seat, his calm expression hiding the cold dread forming in his chest. He followed Ree to the main viewing screen. The holographic display came alive, rows of symbols, moving points of light, and one image that froze the air in the room. 90 dark ships drifted into orbit, their sharp, black shapes reflecting no light at all. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Tom whispered the words everyone feared. "The Swarm Coalition." Ree's body flickered with panic. "It cannot be. They were defeated years ago." Tom shook his head slowly. "Evil like that never disappears." The Swarm Coalition was a name that filled the galaxy with terror. They did not talk. They did not trade. They consumed. Entire worlds had vanished under their shadow. Cities burned, civilizations erased. Ree's voice trembled. "They are not responding to our messages. What should we do?" Tom looked out the wide crystal window. The twin suns still shone over their peaceful city. The sky was bright and blue, yet for the first time in centuries, it felt heavy. "How long until they reach orbit?" 3 hours, Ree said, checking the readings twice. "Outer colonies already report visual contact." Tom closed his eyes for a moment. The Bright Ones had no warships. Their energy shields were meant to block solar storms, not plasma fire. Every ship they owned was built for healing, not fighting. He turned to his assistant. "Open the emergency broadcast." Ree hesitated. "Do you think anyone will come?" Tom placed a hand on his shoulder. "Someone must." The two healers worked quickly, their glowing fingers dancing over the controls. The broadcast lights came on, pulsing across the tower. Tom took a deep breath, forcing his fear away. His voice had to carry across the stars. "This is First Healer Tom of the Bright Ones," he said. "The Swarm Coalition has entered our system with a fleet of warships. We are a peaceful people. We have no weapons, no defense. Our world holds the combined medical library of the galaxy, cures for over 10,000 diseases. We have helped heal millions across hundreds of worlds. Please, we request immediate assistance." The message repeated in every known language, spreading out across the galaxy's communication network, a desperate cry in the dark. Minutes passed. No reply came. Tom looked out again at the sky. The approaching fleet was now visible through the upper atmosphere, black dots against the golden light of the suns. Then suddenly a voice cut through their transmission. It was cold and metallic. "This is Commander Black of the Swarm Coalition. Your world has been chosen. Surrender your resources and submit to our authority. Resistance will result in planetary destruction. You have 1 hour to comply." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Ree whispered, "We are healers. What could they want from us?" Tom's voice was quiet but steady. "Knowledge. Power. What we know could keep them alive for centuries." Outside, the skies darkened. The first swarm ships broke through the clouds like shadows of death. Ree turned to Tom, voice cracking. "First Healer, we must evacuate." Tom shook his head. "We can't abandon the library. It holds the life of every world we've ever helped. If we run, everything will be lost." He moved to the broadcast controls again. "Keep transmitting. Someone will hear us. Someone must come." Ree obeyed, though his hands trembled. The tower's crystals pulsed with each broadcast, sending waves of energy across the void. Far away, beyond the edges of known space, a human listening station caught the faint signal. Inside a dark room filled with screens, Lieutenant Jack sat up straight. The alien voice repeated over the speakers, fragile but clear. "The Swarm Coalition has entered our system. Please, we request immediate assistance." Jack frowned. "The Bright Ones?" He remembered their name. Last year, their medicine had cured his sister, a disease no human doctor could fix. Without them she would have died. He leaned forward and typed a command, Priority 1, forward to Earth Defense Command. Instantly, alarms began to sound across the station. Red lights flashed. Reports filled the screens, swarm ships detected, high threat level confirmed. Jack's voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. They saved us once, he said. Now it's our turn. Across Earth's orbit, the 7th Fleet began to awaken. Massive human warships turned toward the stars. Engines roared, shields powered up, and the dark emptiness of space filled with light. Tom's message continued to echo across the stars. And somewhere deep in the void, the Deathworlders were coming. The signal from the Bright Ones played again across the United Earth Council chamber. The voice was calm even in desperation. We are a peaceful people. We request immediate assistance. Silence followed. Only the hum of the holographic projector filled the room. Admiral J. Stone stood tall, his uniform marked with years of battle. The scars on his face caught the blue light of the screen as he watched the message repeat again and again. Around him sat the council, politicians, scientists, and generals, each with a different look in their eyes. Some were moved. Some were afraid. Finally, the old admiral spoke. His voice was deep and steady. We cannot ignore this. A councilwoman leaned forward. Admiral, the Bright Ones are not allies. Their system is beyond our territory. Stone nodded slowly. They cured our people. Our children. We owe them more than silence. Another voice cut in, nervous, uncertain. The Swarm Coalition is not a small enemy, Admiral. 90 ships. We send a fleet and we risk a war humanity cannot win. Stone's eyes were cold steel. They are not asking for war. They are asking for help. The room went quiet again. He turned toward the massive hologram showing the Swarm fleet moving toward the Bright One's home world. The black ships looked like shadows swallowing the light. We have a choice, Stone said. We can watch another peaceful world burn, or we can remind this galaxy that humanity does not stand by while innocents die. He paused, letting the words sink in. Prepare the 7th Fleet. Within hours, the call went out across Earth's defense network. Satellites flared to life. Shipyards glowed as giant hangar doors opened, revealing rows of massive warships. The 7th Fleet, the pride of the Deathworlders, began to assemble. On board the flagship US Valiant, Captain Maya Trent walked across the bridge. Her crew moved quickly, silent and focused. All systems online, reported her second officer. Fleet readiness at 70%. Tell them we leave at full readiness or not at all, she said. Those people don't have time. Outside, the planet Earth shone behind the fleet, blue and bright, while the warships turned toward the stars. Each vessel was a weapon forged from a world that had known hardship since its birth. High gravity, toxic storms, endless predators. Earth had made survivors, and that was why other races called them Deathworlders. But to humans it simply meant they endured. Meanwhile, far away on the Bright One's home world, the sky was dark with incoming ships. The swarm had begun to enter low orbit. Giant engines filled the heavens with smoke and fire. In the central city, panic spread through the streets. Families ran toward underground shelters, carrying children and glowing crystals that held generations of medical knowledge. Inside the medical tower, First Healer Tom continued to broadcast the same message again and again. His voice was calm, even as explosions echoed in the distance. To any who can hear us, please. We are healers. We mean no harm. Ree stood beside him, hands shaking. No one will come, he whispered. No one cares about healers anymore. Tom placed a hand on his shoulder. Then we will die doing what we were born to do, trying to save life. At that moment the signal light blinked once. Then again. Ree frowned. First Healer, the long-range sensors are detecting something. Tom leaned forward. What kind of signal? Ree's voice trembled. Jump signatures. Multiple. Fast. Very fast. Out beyond the orbit of the Bright One's planet, space shimmered. The darkness folded, cracked, and tore open as massive ships emerged from hyperspace. Metal hulls gleamed. Blue and red engines flared like suns. The US Valiant arrived first, followed by over 40 human warships, destroyers, carriers, and cruisers. To the Bright Ones watching from the ground, the scene looked like a miracle. To the swarm it looked like trouble. On the bridge of the Valiant, Captain Trent stood straight as the stars shifted back into focus. Fleet arrival confirmed, said her tactical officer. Enemy ships detected. 90 confirmed contacts. Trent nodded. Send message to all ships. Shield up. Weapons armed. A hologram of Admiral Stone appeared beside her. "Captain Trent," he said, "this is no longer a rescue. It's a stand. Protect those people. Show the swarm what Deathworlders are made of." Trent gave a tight smile. "With pleasure, sir." She turned to her crew. "Weapons free. Form defensive line above the Bright One's capital. Let's give them hope." Below, in the medical tower, Rhys stared at the screen in disbelief. "First healer, look." The dark sky split open and bright trails of light streaked through the atmosphere. Tom's voice broke into a whisper. Someone came. A tear, a drop of glowing crystal light, fell from his eye. Above the planet, the swarm commander sneered as the human fleet approached. "Primitive species," he growled. "They come to die." He turned to his officers. "Charge all weapons. Destroy them." The order echoed across the swarm fleet, and 1,000 cannons began to glow red. On the Valiant, Captain Trent watched the readings climb. "Incoming fire," said her officer. Trent took a deep breath. "All ships, hold the line." Outside, the stars lit up as the first wave of plasma fire streaked through space. The Deathworlders answered with their own. The void between the fleets exploded into light. The battle for the Bright Ones had begun. The void between the two fleets burned with fire. Bright plasma bolts tore through space, leaving trails of light across the black. Human ships and swarm vessels danced in deadly patterns. One side fighting for survival, the other for hunger. On board the U.S. Valiant, Captain Maya Trent gripped the railing as the ship shook under enemy fire. "Report," she shouted over the alarms. "Shields at 60%. We've lost contact with the horizon." They took a direct hit. Trent's eyes narrowed. "Keep formation. No one breaks the line." Outside the viewport, explosions flashed like small suns. 2 swarm destroyers exploded, torn apart by the combined fire of human cruisers. But for every swarm ship destroyed, 2 more moved forward. On the ground, the Bright Ones watched the sky burn. Rhys stood beside the window, staring upward. His crystal body reflected the flashes of battle like a living prism. "First healer," he whispered, "the humans are still fighting. Even outnumbered." Tom nodded slowly. "They fight like they are defending their own world." A low rumble shook the tower. Dust fell from the ceiling. In the distance, swarm dropships broke through the upper atmosphere, heading for the planet. Rhys' glow dimmed with fear. "They're coming here." Tom placed a hand on his assistant's shoulder. "Then we will stay. We healers do not run." He looked toward the sky again. "And I do not think the humans will run either." Above the planet, the Valiant turned sharply, engines blazing blue. "Captain!" shouted the tactical officer. "Enemy boarding pods detected. They're trying to latch onto our hull." Trent slammed her fist on the console. "Deploy countermeasures. Vent plasma from lower decks." The ship's hull glowed red-hot, and half of the swarm pods disintegrated before they could attach. The others crashed against the armor, spilling black, insect-like creatures into the corridors. Inside the Valiant, alarms screamed. Marines in heavy exoarmor rushed through the halls, weapons ready. Private Diaz kicked open a hatch and fired. The corridor filled with the sound of pulse rifles. The swarm soldiers screeched, acidic blood sizzling against metal. "Hold this section," Diaz shouted. "Don't let them reach the bridge." The Marines fought like demons. They were battered, bleeding, but they didn't fall. Every soldier knew the same truth: if they failed, everyone below would die. On the bridge, Captain Trent steadied herself. "Enemy fleet status?" 32 ships destroyed, Captain. "But we've lost 22. She looked at the tactical display. Her fleet, once a proud wall of human power, was now a broken ring of fire. And still the swarm came forward. For a moment she felt despair pressing on her heart. Then she heard Admiral Stone's voice echo over the comms. "Captain Trent, this is Admiral Stone aboard the Resolute. We are not done yet." Trent blinked. "Admiral? You made it through hyperspace." "Brought reinforcements," Stone said calmly. "Tell your crew to make room." Suddenly, new jump signatures flared on every sensor. Space tore open again, and from the folds of light emerged the rest of the Deathworlder fleet. Dozens of warships, engines blazing, weapons hot. The flagship U.S. Resolute led the charge, its rail cannons glowing white. "Admiral Stone to all units," the old soldier's voice thundered through every speaker. "For Earth. For the Bright Ones. For every world that cannot fight for itself, open fire." The second phase of the battle began. Human ships surged forward in tight formation. The Resolute fired a railgun volley that pierced 3 swarm cruisers in one shot. Destroyers launched missile salvos that lit up the dark like falling stars. The swarm fleet faltered, its massive formation breaking apart under the sheer fury of the Deathworlders. On the Valiant, Captain Trent smiled for the first time in hours. "You heard the Admiral. Push them back." Her crew cheered, voices echoing through the ship. Down below, the Bright One saw the tide turn. Ree gasped as a massive swarm carrier exploded in orbit, its wreckage burning across the sky like a second sunrise. Tom whispered, "They came for us, and they are winning." The ground shook again, but this time, it was not fear that filled his heart. It was hope. But the swarm was not done. On the bridge of the enemy flagship, the swarm commander snarled. "Enough of this. Prepare the planetary annihilator." His officers hissed in agreement. A massive weapon began to charge, a beam strong enough to burn the Bright One's world to ash. Captain Trent saw it too late. The energy reading spiked across every monitor. "Admiral," she shouted. "They're targeting the planet." Admiral Stone's voice came through, calm but grim. "Understood. All ships, redirect power to forward cannons. Focus fire on the flagship." Trent knew what that meant. The distance was too close. The explosion would destroy them all. Still she gave the order. All weapons, full power. Space lit up brighter than a sun. Every human ship fired at once. Lasers, missiles, kinetic rounds, a storm of destruction that tore through the enemy flagship. The swarm commander screamed as his ship's reactor went critical. In a blinding flash, the flagship exploded, the annihilator beam dying before it could fire. The shockwave spread through space, destroying dozens of swarm vessels nearby. When the light faded, only silence remained. Minutes later, the Valiant floated among the debris. Fires burned in the distance. The human fleet, scarred but alive, stood victorious. Captain Trent leaned against the console, exhausted. "Status. Enemy fleet destroyed, Captain. The Bright Ones are safe." She closed her eyes, whispering a quiet thank you. On the planet, First Healer Tom stepped outside the tower. The air smelled of smoke and ozone. Above him, the night sky was filled with faint trails of light, human ships holding position. Ree stood beside him, voice trembling. "They saved us." Tom nodded. "No. They saved what we could become." He looked up at the stars. Perhaps now, the galaxy will remember the humans not as monsters from a death world, but as saviors. In orbit, Admiral Stone stared at the fading wreckage of the swarm fleet. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. "No one consumes the light of the living while Deathworlders stand watch." The bridge fell silent. Then the Admiral turned away. "Set course for home. The Bright Ones will rebuild. And so will we." As the human fleet drifted into the stars, the Bright One's world shone bright once more, healed not by medicine but by courage. The fires above the Bright One's world had faded, leaving only drifting pieces of metal and the soft glow of human ships standing guard. In the crystal city below, the people gathered in silence, staring up at the sky. For the first time in their long history they had seen war, and survived. First Healer Tom walked through the healing gardens, his once gleaming body now dimmed by exhaustion. Beside him, Ree carefully carried a small crystal tablet, a gift sent by the human fleet. "They call it a transmission pad," Ree explained softly. "It holds messages from their leaders. And from their soldiers." Tom nodded, his fingers brushing the cool surface. "Then let us listen. We owe them that much." The pad activated, projecting a faint blue hologram into the air. The image of Captain Maya Trent appeared, tired, her uniform scorched, but smiling faintly. "To the people of the Bright Ones," she said, voice warm but weary, "your message reached us. And we answered because it was the right thing to do. You helped us when our kind was sick and broken. You gave us hope. Now it was our turn." The hologram flickered slightly, then showed Admiral Stone standing behind her. "The Swarm Coalition will think twice before attacking healers again," he said, his deep voice steady. "But understand this, there are more like them out there. The galaxy is not safe. Not yet." Tom lowered his head, feeling the weight of those words. Later, as the sun set over the glittering towers, the Bright Ones gathered for a council. The air shimmered with faint light as thousands of crystalline figures filled the great chamber. Elder Vara, her form shaped like flowing glass, spoke first. "The humans have proven their strength. But can we trust such power? They are Deathworlders." The word echoed through the hall like a curse. Tom rose slowly. His voice was quiet, but it carried. "They are not monsters. They bleed, they fear, and yet they came for us when no one else would. They did not conquer. They protected." The chamber grew silent. Elder Vara hesitated. And what if they come again, not as saviors but as warriors? Tom looked toward the sky, where faint specks of human ships still orbited. Then I will stand with them. Because those who heal and those who fight are not so different. Both save lives, in their own way. Far above, in orbit, the human fleet prepared to depart. Admiral Stone stood on the Resolute's observation deck, staring at the glowing planet below. Behind him, Captain Trent entered quietly. "Evac teams report all swarm wreckage cleared, sir," she said. "We're ready to head home." Stone nodded. "Good. The bright ones will need time to recover." Trent hesitated. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" "Always." She stepped forward. "They're not soldiers, Admiral. If the swarm ever returns, they won't survive another attack. We should stay. Leave a defense array, a patrol, something." The old man sighed. "You think I haven't thought of that? Earth Command wants us back for debriefing." He turned to her, eyes weary. "But you're right. Leaving them alone again doesn't feel right." He looked out at the stars. "Set a beacon. Quiet channel. We'll watch over them, even from a distance." On the surface, Ree and Tom worked tirelessly with human medics who had stayed behind. The humans' rough hands were clumsy compared to the bright one's delicate touch, but their hearts were steady. They helped rebuild, lifting crystal beams, patching damaged energy conduits, sharing food and laughter. One young human engineer, Lila, smiled at Ree as they worked side by side. "You know," she said, wiping sweat from her brow, "back home people said your kind were like angels." Ree tilted his head. "And yet, it was the angels who needed saving." Lila laughed softly. "Guess that makes us your messy, loud human angels now." For the first time since the invasion, Ree laughed too, a sound like wind through glass. Days later, Tom stood atop the highest spire, watching the last human ships rise into the dark. As the engines flared, he felt something stir within him, gratitude, awe, and something new. Resolve. He activated the transmission pad one last time. "Admiral Stone," he said quietly, "this is First Healer Tom. You saved our world, but more than that, you reminded us what courage looks like. The bright ones will not forget. And if ever the galaxy calls again, we will answer." He ended the transmission and looked up at the departing fleet, vanishing into the stars. But peace as always was fragile. Far from the bright one's system, in a dark region of uncharted space, a shadow moved. Among the wreckage of the destroyed swarm fleet, fragments of black metal pulsed faintly. Something ancient stirred within, a cold mind awakening. It whispered across the void, its voice crawling through broken comms and dying power cores. "The humans have revealed themselves, the Deathworlders live." In response, other signals blinked to life, distant, faint, but growing. The galaxy, still recovering from one war, did not yet know another was coming. Back in the medical tower, Tom felt a strange vibration in the air, faint like a whisper on the wind. Ree looked up at him. "Did you feel that?" Tom nodded slowly. "Yes. And I fear, it was not the last echo of battle." He turned toward the horizon, where the twin suns rose again over their healing world. For now there was peace. But in the distance, the stars seemed to tremble, as if they already knew what was coming next. Months passed since the battle of the Bright One's world. The crystal towers once scarred by fire now shimmered under the light of the twin suns again. Life had returned, cautious, quiet, but alive. Children played near the healing fountains, their reflections dancing on the glass-like ground. For the first time in generations, laughter echoed through the halls of the healers. But deep within the central medical spire, First Healer Tom could not rest. He stood before a vast holographic map, its soft blue glow filling the room. Across the map, a spreading field of static blinked. A region where sensors failed, where signals died. Re-entered, carrying a data crystal. Reports from the outer colonies, First Healer. Another trade convoy vanished near the Perseus Veil. Tom turned slowly. "That's the fourth this month." Ree nodded, his crystalline form dim. "The humans offered to send patrol ships, but the Council declined. They fear appearing dependent." Tom sighed. Pride is a dangerous thing when danger hides in the dark. Far across the galaxy, inside the steel corridors of Earth's orbital command, alarms pulsed faintly. Lieutenant Jack, the same officer who had first heard the Bright One's distress call, leaned over his console. The display showed something strange, ghost signals, deep in uncharted space. Not ships, not comets. Something larger. Something coordinated. "Commander," Jack said, voice tense. "You should see this." Commander Hale approached, frowning. Another swarm remnant? Jack shook his head. No, sir. The energy signature doesn't match. It's colder. Structured. Like something building itself out there. Hale leaned in closer. The holographic lines pulsed in eerie rhythm, like a heartbeat echoing across the void. Send it to Fleet Intelligence, he ordered. Mark it as Priority Black. And don't tell the media a damn thing. Back on the Bright One's world, the medical spire buzzed with quiet activity. Human engineers, led by Captain Maya Trent, had returned temporarily to assist with new defense installations, small orbital shields and sensor arrays. Tom greeted Maya warmly when she arrived. Your presence brings hope, Captain. Maya smiled, brushing her gloved hands together. Hope's good, First Healer. But we're also bringing weapons just in case. Ree blinked, light rippling across his crystal body. Weapons? You expect more fighting? Maya hesitated. Let's just say Command doesn't like what they're seeing near the edge of known space. Something's moving out there. Tom's eyes dimmed. The swarm? She shook her head. We don't know. But whatever it is, it's waking up. As the humans worked above the planet, strange signals began to interfere with their scanners. Low pulses, not random static but patterned. Almost like a voice trying to speak. One technician frowned at her console. Captain, we're getting repeating code bursts, rhythmic like old Earth Morse but faster. Translate it, Maya ordered. The message came through in fragmented sound. They see you, they watch. Deathworlders awake the ancient. The signal cut off abruptly. A cold silence filled the room. Source? Maya asked sharply. Unknown, the technician replied. It came from somewhere inside the dead swarm sector. Maya's jaw tightened. Give me Earth Command. Now. That night, in the healing gardens, Tom sat alone among glowing flowers. He could feel it, a vibration in the air, soft but persistent, like distant thunder before a storm. Ree joined him quietly. The humans are uneasy, he said. They speak of new dangers, things even they do not understand. Tom looked up at the stars. Perhaps the galaxy is changing again. Healing and peace are not permanent. Nothing is. Ree hesitated. Do you think we should prepare for war? Tom smiled faintly. I think we should prepare to survive. In orbit, the Resolute's command bridge glowed in pale blue light. Admiral Stone stared at a map projected before him, hundreds of red markers blinking near the galactic rim. They're spreading, said Maya, standing beside him. Stone's expression was grim. And they're silent. That's the worst part. The swarm always announced themselves with noise, raids, energy spikes. This, whatever it is, it hides. Maya turned to him. Sir, maybe it's not the swarm. Maybe it's something older. He nodded slowly. Our deep archives mention a war long before the swarm, something the ancient races tried to erase from history. A machine intelligence that consumed stars. Maya frowned. You think it's real? Stone looked out at the stars. We're about to find out. Meanwhile, on a distant asteroid field, a forgotten swarm vessel floated in silence. Inside, darkness pulsed with faint red light. Machines stirred, ancient, broken but not dead. The swarm commander's voice echoed weakly from a damaged core. Signal, set. They will awaken. Beyond that derelict ship, hidden in the void, something immense drifted. Its shape was indistinct, not organic, not mechanical, but both. As it moved, stars seemed to fade behind it. The galaxy had forgotten its name. But the few who had survived its first coming had whispered a word, the Harbingers. Back in the Bright One city, dawn rose again. Tom watched as human shuttles departed for orbit, leaving faint trails of fire in the sky. He placed his hand against the glass window and whispered, "Let them be ready." The stars above flickered. Far away, signals traveled faster than light, carrying warnings, requests, and fear. The Bright Ones, once healers, never warriors, began quietly training in new disciplines. Not to destroy but to endure. Ree looked at Tom, his eyes shimmering faintly. What will we do, First Healer, if the darkness comes again? Tom turned toward the twin suns. Then we will do what the humans did for us. We will answer the call. Across the galaxy, deep in the black void, the ancient machine stirred. Its voice rumbled through subspace, mechanical yet alive. The Deathworlders move. The light-bearers awaken. Let the purge begin again. And for the first time in 1,000 years, stars began to die. Darkness spread across the edge of the galaxy. Stars that had burned for billions of years flickered, and went out. Human probes vanished without a trace. Trade routes fell silent. Entire systems stopped responding to calls. And in the void beyond the Perseus Veil, something enormous moved, so vast that even light seemed afraid to touch it. The Harbingers had awakened. Admiral J. Stone stood in the war chamber of Earth Command, his face lit by hundreds of holographic projections. Each one showed a world under threat. Each one showed fear. Captain Maya Trent entered, her uniform scorched and dusty from her last mission. "Sir, the Harbinger signal is spreading faster than expected. 6 colonies are already gone." Stone's jaw tightened. Then it's time. He turned toward the council members hovering on the screen. "Activate Operation Dawnfire. All fleets, to Bright Home." The image of a bright one appeared, First Healer Tom. His calm, crystal face shimmered faintly. "Admiral Stone, are you certain? Bringing so many ships here will make your world a target." Stone nodded. "Maybe. But it's also where this started, your distress call, our alliance. This is where we stand together, or fall apart." Tom looked down, his light dimming slightly. "Then we will stand." Days later, the skies above the Bright One's home world filled with steel and fire. Human warships, sleek and scarred, orbited beside new Bright One defense towers that glowed with soft blue light. In the medical spire, scientists and soldiers worked side by side. Readjusted a new energy matrix as human engineers guided him through holographic blueprints. Their joint creation, the Aegis Array, a defensive network powered by both human plasma cores and Bright One crystal technology. Maya watched them from the balcony, speaking quietly to Tom. "It's strange," she said. "We came to protect you. Now you're helping protect us." Tom smiled faintly, light rippling through his glass-like face. "That is what healing truly means, Captain. It is not only about curing wounds, but giving others the strength to fight their own battles." Hours later, alarms shattered the calm. Above the planet, the void rippled. Something vast began to emerge, a ship so enormous it blotted out the stars. The Harbinger core. Its surface was alive, made of shifting black metal and pulsing red veins of light. Millions of small fragments detached from it, each one a machine, each one deadly. The first wave struck. Human destroyers opened fire, plasma and railguns blazing. The sky lit up in white and blue, streaks of energy cutting across the void. "Shields at 60%, shouted a bridge officer aboard the Resolute. Maya gripped her console. "Bring the Aegis Array online, now." Down on the surface, Ree and Tom activated the massive network. Energy surged through the planet's towers, linking them in a glowing ring. The sky turned bright white as a shield erupted around the world. The first Harbinger blast struck, and held. The Bright One's crystal technology absorbed the impact, bending energy instead of breaking. Tom fell to his knees from the strain. "It's working, for now." Admiral Stone's voice echoed through the fleet. "All ships, concentrate fire on the core. Don't let it reach the planet." The humans fought like they always had, fierce, desperate, and unstoppable. They rammed enemy drones head-on. They fired until their guns overheated and melted. They refused to retreat. Inside the core, something ancient stirred, a consciousness vast and cold. "The Deathworlders resist," it said in a metallic whisper that filled every comm channel. "The cycle must continue. Life must end." Stone glared at the screen. "Not this time." He turned to Maya. "Ready the Dawnfire protocol." Maya froze. "Sir, that's suicide." "I know," he said quietly. "But if we don't stop this thing here, there won't be a galaxy left to save." The Dawnfire weapon was a hybrid, part human, part Bright One creation. It could unleash the energy of a dying sun, but only if triggered manually from inside the detonation ship. Stone looked around at his crew. "Get to your shuttles." "That's an order." Maya shook her head. "You can't do this alone." He smiled faintly. "You're right. That's why you're coming with me." As the Resolute moved toward the Harbinger core, the fleet formed a wall behind it, a last line of defense for the Bright One's world. Tom watched from the surface, feeling every pulse of energy through the crystal spires. He whispered softly, "May your courage light the stars." Replaced a glowing shard into the main console, a direct link to the Resolute. "They will hear you, First Healer." Inside the core's shadow, Stone and Maya prepared the weapon. The Harbinger voice thundered around them. "You cannot stop what is eternal." Stone looked out at the stars, his hand resting on the activation switch. "Eternal or not," he said softly, "everything burns." He pressed the trigger. A wave of light exploded outward, brighter than any sun. It tore through the Harbinger core, shattering it into molten fragments. For a heartbeat, the galaxy went silent. Then, the darkness broke. When the light faded, only the Bright One's world remained, shielded, scarred, but alive. Tom and Ree stood in the healing gardens, their crystal forms reflecting the dawn. The human fleet, what was left of it, drifted above like silver ghosts. A faint transmission echoed through the comms, Stone's voice fading but calm. "We did it, First Healer. The galaxy, it's safe. For now. Take care of them, all of them." And then, silence. Weeks later, a monument was built in the central plaza of Bright Home, a fusion of crystal and steel. It bore a simple inscription in 2 languages. "To the Deathworlders, who came when no one else would." Tom stood before it, hands folded, light glowing softly through him. Ree looked at him quietly. "Do you think they're gone forever?" Tom smiled faintly. "No. I think heroes never truly die. They become the stars that guide us." He looked up at the sky, where the twin suns rose once again, and between them faint trails of starlight shimmered. Not fading. Watching. Far away in the silent void where the Harbinger core had died, small fragments still drifted, faintly glowing, faintly alive. And in the darkness, a whisper returned. "Cycle, incomplete." The screen fades to black.